everyone, my name is Sam and thanks for checking out this video. Make sure to hit the subscribe button down below, hit the little bell for notifications, and give the video a thumbs up or a thumbs down if you want to, whatever works for you. So I want to talk about some books that I read this week. This week was actually a slower reading week for me, much more than normal. I just had lots going on and I went to the movies twice, but I'm actually still happy. I got a couple books done, and I honestly got through most of my March TBR, so I'm giving myself a self-high-five for that one. So one of my goals for 2018 was to reread the Lunar Chronicles, so I'm working my way pretty steadily through it so far. I finished my reread for Scarlet this week by Marissa Meyer. This is the second book in the Lunar Chronicles, and by far my favorite one. It still is, even after my reread. I absolutely love Scarlet and Wolf. I love the setting. Scarlet particularly love her attitude and her ambition, and she's been dealt a hard hand in life, and she doesn't let that stop her, and her and Wolf are just I don't know if goals is right, because some weird stuff happens to them, but I think their feelings for each other and the way that they put each other first is actually quite adorable, and I just love them so much. If you don't know, the Lunar Chronicles is a series that compiles a bunch of retellings of some classic fairy tales. Book 1 is Cinder, is a retelling of Cinderella, where Cinderella is a cyborg set in what is kind of now common-day Central Asia, but the world has gone through World War III, and things are cut up differently. The world has also been victim to a plague that's been going around and just killing large masses of people. The emperor of Cinder's area is trying to work with the Lunars, which are people from the moon, to try and make sure that their power-hungry queen does not invade Earth, but they also want to try and find a solution and be diplomatic, and it's things all over the place. But this actually doesn't pick up exactly where Cinder leaves off. Scarlet actually takes place predominantly in Paris. Now, the plot and everything is very much intertwined. Each book builds off the one written before it, and they're fantastic. The series just gets, dramatically better and better and better as it goes along, even though book 2 is still my favorite. But we meet Wolf and Scarlet, and Wolf is Lupine, and it's just so good. I really love the relationship that Scarlet has with her family. There's so much drama there, but she's such a good, independent, capable human being that even though she's been dealt that rough hand, that she knows exactly what to she's not naive about the world, which I feel like some fairy tales, especially fairy tale retellings, tend to play up. She's not naive about that world, and she's learning and always growing and learning to love. And it's just, I love this book so much. I don't even know specific, I couldn't even pinpoint favorite thing. I just love it. And I love Wolf. He discovers vegetables in this book. It's just so funny. But yeah, so I gave it a 5 out of 5 stars again, and it's still, so far, my favorite book in the Lunar Chronicles. Oh, I feel weird being on the other side. Okay, switching back to this side. I also started and finished Gunslinger Go by Lindsay Ellie. This is kind of a Western. It's not as Western as I thought it was, which is why I was originally hesitant to pick it up, but worked out. I think I gave this a 4 or 5 stars. It was really good. I think the pacing was a little bit off at some times, but I love the world, I love the conflicts, I love the characters. There's some romance, which I felt was very sappy, and I don't know that it was totally necessary, but I feel like I liked how it ended with this book, with the romance. And there's just so much betrayal. I feel like I don't know that I 100% understood everything that happened at the end, just because there was so, every character was involved, and some names are so similar that I don't know that I fully 100% understood it. So I kind of want to reread this again later on this year. And I feel like it would be a really good one for me to read during the summer months. So I think I'm going to try and do that. I just really overall enjoyed it. And I think it's a standalone too, which pretty rare. But if you like fantasies, the plot's pretty similar to a stereotypical YA fantasy. And like I said, I didn't love the romance going through it. However, I liked how it ended, and I liked that the main character isn't just drop dead in love with this person from the beginning to the end, and they don't ever deal with anything in between. There's lots of ups and downs, and they deal with lots of different things. There were some lineage reveals, which I'm always a fan of. I love lineage reveals. And yeah, overall, really enjoyed this book. If you're hesitant just because of the Western, don't worry about that part. It's really not it's not Louis L'Amour or anything like that. So definitely give it a go. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Then I picked up and finished Honor Among Thieves by Rachel Kane and Anna Guier. I think I ended up giving this book a 2.5 or 3 out of 5 stars. Honestly, don't can't pinpoint exactly what I, like, made me, like, not, I don't even know that this one's hard. Like, I feel like it was more of just, like, maybe my mood, as well as the fact that Obsidio just came out. And the plot of this book is kind of, like, Illuminate-ish. So I feel like I automatically just compared it, which is not fair to do to every book. So I don't know, maybe I want to reread it in, like, when I'm in more of, like, a sci-fi-y mood. I don't know. But it follows our main character who lives in New Detroit. She's going through rehab a lot. She's living kind of on the streets. She's been emancipated by her parents. Her dad was a horrible person, and her mom now lives on the Mars colony. This book all starts when she pickpockets someone who ends up having some valuable information about some seedy buying and selling industries, I guess is a good way of saying it. In this world, aliens helped save Earth before it, like, kind of imploded years before this. So every year they pick and honor someone from Earth or a couple people from Earth to come and, like, experience and help them in space. And for whatever reason, it's normally, like, rich, wealthy, off people, but for whatever reason, this year, our main character, who, you know, has lots of issues and problems, and it's actually kind of convenient the timing because she's running from the person that she shouldn't have pickpocketed, essentially, and she ends up in space as one of the honors. And I feel like that's where the book kind of lost me. There's, like, an AI system, and they communicate, like, telepathically, the main character and the AI system, but it almost came off like it was supposed to be a romance, and I felt like I was watching some intimate kind of stuff that I shouldn't have. It was just kind of uncomfortable for me. I just don't know. It was like there's, like, a romantic tension, and it felt like I was intruding on something that was supposed to be, like, an intimate, quiet thing. It was just, I don't know why, the entire dynamic just really made me uncomfortable. But, like, when they're in space, the spaceship keeps falling asleep or something like that, and by that point, I just kind of totally zoned out. I just didn't really care. I wasn't enjoying the book much, so I finished it, but I don't know that I could honestly regurgitate what happened in the end, in all honesty. I was just kind of done with the book by that point, which is too bad. However, it is nice that once in a while I read a book and I'm like, okay, I won't continue on that series. So I don't see myself continuing on with the series. I don't know if I'll ever actually reread it. But I know several people who really, really loved it. So I think it really did have something to do with just my taste and my mood, and the fact that Obsidio came out, like, so recently. So didn't totally love this book. I didn't hate it, though. There was just, I feel like it was just a mood, as well as, like, the things that I pulled out of the romance and the setting, and just the mood of the in space between our main character and the AI alien thing. It was just very odd, and I don't feel that I really enjoyed, which I really should have enjoyed them, like, exploring different parts of the universe. I just don't know that it was executed super well or something. I don't know. This book's just, like, weird, messing with my head. It reminds me a lot of Daughters of the Storm, in all honesty. It took me 2 weeks, but I finally finished my reread of Dragonfly and Amber. Once again, just like the first book, it's been quite a while since I've read this series, or read this book in the series, just because, yeah, it's been out for forever. And in all honesty, because of the shows having, like, they take, like, a 2-year gap, I think, between Season 2 and Season 3 coming out. So I honestly don't even know that I remember most of the TV show. So, my memory being horrible, it was basically like reading it for the first time. I love the different settings. This book, we get to do France, like, pre-revolution, and then we switch to Scotland. And it is, like, you see the difference if you read book 1 and 2 back to back, but most people don't do that. But I think it is just kind of a different thing, having it all in the same book, whereas Outlander is just all completely in Scotland and England, basically, whereas this one, we get to go to France, and you see the stark contrast, and you see Jamie being able to so easily switch from being, like, a wine merchant in France, doing things in the name of his cousin? Yeah, I think it's his cousin, and then switching back to Jacobite Scotland in the middle of basically what is going to be Civil War. It's just, I really liked how Diana Gabaldon did that. I don't know why. They go through a lot of loss, and I really liked getting to see all of the political, like, or social, I guess, and political conflicts going on in France. Like, you can see exactly why things are going to be building up to the way that they are with the French Revolution. And I loved getting to see Claire in, like, a new, less witchy focused kind of society. Scotland, like, she gets tried for witchcraft in Outlander, but you get to go to France where people are, like, they're religious, but not the same way as, like, oh, she knows how to grow herbs, she's a witch, get her! And you see, like, the things with smallpox, and there's all that kind of stuff. I feel like that was a super interesting part. Like, I don't know that it totally really contributed a ton to the plot, which I think is why I know some people who were like, this book really lagged. But as someone who really enjoys historical detail, this was kind of perfect for me. And I love Roger. Roger's one of my favorite characters in this book, and we finally get to meet him. And we meet Brianna. And I don't totally love Brianna at the beginning of this. I find like she's a bit spoiled bratty, but I can also kind of understand it. And I don't know, I really enjoy this book. I like taking my time with the series too. So I think I'm going to try and start Voyager in April. It's not on my TBR, but I normally just read to like listen to or read a couple chapters each night. So I feel like that's just how I've been enjoying this series so far. And I'm really hoping we get Voyager Anniversary Editions next year. Or no, this year. Yeah, I don't know if they're doing them. I haven't seen any news anywhere. But we have the first one and Dragonfly and Amber in pretty anniversary editions, and I'm really hoping we get one for Voyager. So I feel like as a book overall, I still gave this book a 5 out of 5 stars. In the Outlander series ranking, it is below Outlander, but I love Voyager. I feel like this is almost kind of like a filler-ish book. There's just lots of stuff that happens in here. But this thing, it's not a filler book too, because things do happen in here. But there's a lot that, like, it leads up to things going on in Voyager. So, I just love this series so much, if you can't tell. And the last kind of book that I read this week was The Sign of the Four by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. This is the second book, or the second stories inside of the complete anthology that I got from Barnes & Noble from my beautiful friend Melanie for Christmas. And this is actually one that I had never actually read before. I don't know that I've even actually seen this one adapted totally. I feel like I've seen, like, the plot itself in, like, other films or something, but I don't know that I've ever actually seen this story adapted in any of, like, the Sherlock Holmes TV shows or film adaptations. But it was actually really, really interesting, and our main character, she gets, like, pearls or something sent to her, and then it finds out, like, she's been having money sent to her by this family, and they're like, well, where did the jewels come from? And of course, it's like, when Britain was invading in a war-torn India, I believe it was, they stole some jewels. Well, some guy stole some jewels and hid it, and then this guy stole it from him. And it's very British colonialism, to say the bare minimum. And I feel like, though, that when I'm reading these stories, I realize how different we have our modern portrayals of Sherlock Holmes being. Because, I mean, like, he doesn't really solve anything, I feel like, in this story. He's, like, a detective, and he's obviously, like, investigating, and he's figuring things out, but I don't feel like he does anything or connects any dots that any other basic detective would be able to do. Because, I mean, the last chapter is where everything gets explained, and it's by the person who they've, like, kind of caught. But they catch him for other reasons. They're like, we think you did it, but can you tell us exactly how you did it? So, but I actually really, really enjoyed this one. I think far more than I did the first one, which is, I think, A Study in Scarlet. Let me double check. Yeah, A Study in Scarlet. And I think I am actually going to be pretty quickly able to fit this into my April TBR, just because the next one is The Adventures of Sherlock Holmes. And instead of having, like, chapters, I think the other way the other ones do, I think it's, like, actually, like, separate kind of mini stories. So I think I'll be able to pretty easily, like, read one of those a night or something like that. Yeah, I think I gave this one, like, I don't think I actually rated it, because I feel weird rating a classic like Sherlock Holmes, but I feel like I gave the first one, like, a 4, or, like, a 3.5, 4, and this one would be, like, a 4, 4.5. Actually really enjoying this series. I love the old-timey feels, and we get to meet Mary when John Watson and her fall in love. It's so cute. And, yeah, I just love this series. And the edition is so gorgeous. But so those are all the books that I read this week. Let me know in the comment section down below if you've read any of these or what you read this week. I'd love to hear. And yeah, make sure to check the description box down below for links to these books' Goodreads page, and then links to all of my social media. If you follow me, I will follow you back.